Hey everybody, Rose Matter here, and welcome to my new series that I've been wanting to do for a while, and it's good to finally sit down and get this done. As you can tell from the title, this is Rose Rambles, and what this is basically me sitting down in front of the camera and talking to you guys about a certain topic in gaming without a script. I just go off and rant and rave, and I figured for my first video in the series it would be fun to talk about my moments in games that made me cry or made me emotional, because if you've been with the channel for any amount of time, you've probably picked up that I'm a pretty emotional person and I am easily manipulated by moments that are meant to be sad. So I could easily do a 2 or 3 part series just on moments in gaming that made me emotional, and if you guys like this and you would like to see that, I easily could do a part 2. I will have in the description bar timestamps, because there will definitely be spoilers in this video. And I will also let you know like what game I'm going to talk about, so you can skip ahead if you don't want to be spoiled. So yeah, let's go ahead, let's jump into my most emotional gaming moments. Okay, let's talk about probably the one that got me the most, like the most emotional moment for me. We're gonna start strong. Let's talk about Telltale's The Walking Dead. I could easily do a top 10 about just this series alone, about moments that made me emotional, but I'm gonna talk about the one that got to me the most. So if you guys don't know what this game is about, it follows Lee Everett, and he finds a little girl named Clementine, and it's the two of them along with different people throughout their journey, just trying to survive the zombie apocalypse. And games are not great at making children in games likable. That might be a controversial topic. Clementine, I think, is probably the best character in terms of like a child character that you attach to very quickly. You love her, you want to protect her, and you know, you're playing as Lee and you want to do whatever you can to just keep Clementine alive. And you just really bond with her throughout the game, and it is a like choice-based game where, you know, you make choices and, you know, there's consequences for it. But unfortunately, some moments, some choices, you're screwed no matter what. And that is the case with the end of The Walking Dead. Clementine is kidnapped by this crazy guy, and Lee unfortunately gets bit while he has to try and find her. And you can choose to either cut your arm off and hopefully, you know, give yourself some time or survive before you know, to get to Clementine, or you can choose to not cut your arm off. And I'm pretty sure most people did, because they are hell-bent on like, we need to help Clementine. We love Lee. Lee is also an amazing character. We want him to survive. Unfortunately, no matter what you do, Lee is destined to die. So you do eventually find Clementine, you save her from this guy, and it's just the two of you, and you manage to escape into this little store, and you can tell Lee is not doing good. He is just like pretty much about to die, and you sit down and you have this very heartfelt moment with Clementine where you tell her, I got bits, I'm going to die, and the big choice at the end of the game is you either choose to have Clementine shoot Lee and, you know, spare him from becoming a walker, or you just tell her to leave him behind. So either way, unfortunately, Lee does die. Clementine is alone. And this was a very like split moment, because the game does, like at the end of each episode, it is an episodic game, it tells you what other people's choices were. I think it was pretty split on, you know, whether people let Clementine shoot Lee or they, you know, just left him behind. And I'm sure with other people, I was thinking about what was best for Clementine. There's the thing like, do you spare her the horror of having to shoot her basically father figure? Or do you teach her like, this is what you need to do to survive? You have to learn to make the tough choices. So you're not talking from like just a pragmatic choice, you're talking like, when you make that decision, you think about what is best for Clementine, because you have just attached yourself and bonded with her so much. And just, oh, like the voice acting with Clementine, like she's very upset, but she's just such a strong little girl, and Lee will tell her about like, these are the things that you need to do. You can tell her about how to survive, like stay away from cities, keep your hair short so the, you know, zombies or people can't grab at it. It's just this culmination of like this, you know, 5 episodes of just being with this little girl, and then you just have to basically leave her behind by herself, and it's just, oh, I was bawling. I played the whole game because I played it after it was released. I played the whole thing over a weekend, and it was probably one of the most emotional gaming moments ever, and I was just a complete wreck by the end of it. So easily, yes, the end of, season 1 of Telltale's The Walking Dead with Clementine and Lee is definitely, like, probably my top emotional moments. And if you watch, like, YouTube compilations of, like, the end of The Walking Dead, I'm sure that I'm definitely not the only one who feels that way. Alright, let's talk about more child death. Woo! So, another really, like, emotional and amazingly written game is The Last of Us. We talked about the end of a game, but let's talk about the beginning of a game. So, The Last of Us is very impressive in that it makes you connect with characters in basically the first 10 minutes of the game. It follows Joel and his daughter Sarah. Sarah's a little bit older than Clementine, say she's maybe about 12, 13 years old, but still, like, very well written in the short amount of time you get with her. She and Joel obviously have a very good relationship, and I think what helps you bond with Sarah quickly is you actually play as her in the opening, and you just walk around the house and she'll comment on things, and you just kind of get a general, like, idea of her as a person. She seems like a real person. And then, like The Walking Dead, The Last of Us deals kind of with, like, an apocalypse. Not quite zombies, but almost, and it's just the beginning of shit going down, and Joel and Sarah are trying to escape the city, and it's just very harrowing, and there's just a lot of, like, close calls, but it seems like they made it to the end. Sarah gets hurt on the way. I think they get into a car accident, so Joel's carrying her. They go up to a checkpoint. There is a soldier there, and the soldier has been told to shoot to kill, basically. Like, they think that they might be infected. They don't want to take a chance. So the soldier shoots at Joel and Sarah, and unfortunately, while Joel gets away, without any injuries, Sarah unfortunately gets shot and she dies. And it's just, everything is just done so well. It's not too overwrought. It's like the music isn't like this swelling music. It's very low-key, and it just lets the scene play out. The acting is absolutely amazing. Joel, played by Troy Baker. I don't know Sarah's actress's name, but she is amazing as well. Just you can tell she's in pain, but she's not being, like, overtly, like, screaming and stuff. It's just it's subtle. It's all very subtle, and I think that's what makes it so effective. So that was another moment where it's like The Walking Dead, it took that time with, like, getting you to connect with the character, but The Last of Us did it so well in such a short amount of time. Okay, let's get away from child death and let's move on to animal death. Yay! So, I am such a huge animal lover. If you kill off an animal in a game, I'm gonna be emotional. That's just how it is. You don't have to do much with it. You don't make me, you don't have to make me have to bond with an animal for the whole time. I connect very quickly with animals much more than people. But the next two games I'm going to talk about, you do bond with your animal. And it's funny enough, they're both horses. So the first game I'm going to talk about is Red Dead Redemption 2. And Red Dead Redemption 2, you are a cowboy, Arthur Morgan, and he's an amazing character. I could definitely talk about, like, just the ending of Red Dead Redemption 2 in general is very emotional, but we're going to talk about a specific moment. So, as a cowboy, you can have multiple horses throughout the games. You can buy horses, you can find horses, and there was one horse in particular that I wanted. It was a white Arabian. It was a very rare horse that you could find in the game, and it took me a while, but I got it, and I became very attached, and I was like, I will do anything to protect this horse, because your horses can die. So I took very good care of it. I, fed it the best stuff. I, frequently took it for cleanings. Cleanings, it sounds like a car. But I took very good care of this horse. I love this horse. It was with me throughout a very long part of the game. And towards the end of the game, Arthur is, he's reaching the climax. He's going after some bad people. I'm not going to spoil too much. And during this, his horse gets shot and dies. And what's very upsetting is just Arthur just takes a moment and he just tells his horse, thank you. Thank you for all that you did, for being with me. And here I am getting emotional. I wasn't getting emotional talking about the child death, but here I am talking about this damn horse. But is just that little thank you he says. And I was with that horse for a while, and I did form a bond with it. I tried to protect it, and if I had known what was going to happen, I would have just taken a horse that I didn't have any sort of connection with. And then maybe my white Arabian could have just been in a stable somewhere safe. But no, unfortunately, he died, and it was very sad. Alright, so let's talk about another game that involves the death of your beloved horse, Ghost of Tsushima. This is the most recent game on the list, and this one was a little bit different, unlike Red Dead Redemption, where you got, a lot of selection of horses and, everything like that. This one, you get your horse towards the beginning of the game, and yes, you can take other horses as well, but it's implied that the horse that you get is yours, and you can even name it. And you can choose from a couple of different names. I named my horse Nobu, and I loved Nobu, and I didn't take any other horse. That was my horse throughout the game. And what really connected you with Jin and with the horse is they do seem to have a bond, because he'll talk to Nobu, or whatever you've called your horse. See, I have to call it Nobu because that was my horse. But he would talk to the horse, and he would say things like, "You're a good horse, Nobu. When things calm down a little bit, we'll go for a good, a nice ride, and just thank you for being there for me." And he showed appreciation for his horse. And this horse was magical. You could just whistle, and this horse would come from anywhere and find you. And it's just like there's this bond. And about halfway through the game, as Jin is escaping from a certain area, I'll try not to spoil things, people shoot at the horse with arrows, and the horse gets multiple arrows in its back. But the horse he tries so hard to get Jin out of, there, and he goes for a while, and then finally the horse can't take anymore, and he collapses. And he just, Jin has to just leave the horse, and he mourns it. And there was an achievement where it was about, like, you could, like, visit the grave of your dear friend, and I assumed it was my horse. Who else could it possibly be? No, it was some other character who also died, and, he was a good character. I'm not going to say who, but that's not who I think of when I think of my friend. It was my horse. And the thing is, later in the game, after your horse dies, you get this shitty little, like, sickly looking horse, and then eventually you get another horse, and you can name that horse as well. But I was just like, this isn't my horse. I named it, I think I named it was Kage, but I'm just like, that's not my OG horse. I never formed that connection like I did with my Nobu. So that was another moment where it's just, yeah, super emotional. Just this horse just tried so hard to do what he could, or she, I can't remember if it was a boy or a girl, to, like, help Jin out, and sacrificed itself for that, and it was just very sad. Okay, so let's talk about another game that I feel like it's been kind of forgotten about. It's one that I feel like more people should definitely play, and I did play it for the channel. It's called To the Moon, and it's just this little, like, RPG Maker style sprite game. And I admit I was a little bit, like, even a couple of years ago, I was a little bit of a snob when it came to graphics, and I was just like, how is a game with such basic graphics gonna make me emotional? Because people told me, like, oh, it's such a sad game, it's just such a beautiful game, it's, it's gonna make you cry, and I was just like, oh, but the graphics, as beautiful as they are, they're very simple. But it just goes to show you, if a game is written well enough, then it transcends everything, and it did make me cry multiple times. So let's talk about the moment in To the Moon, but I guess first of all I should tell you guys what To the Moon is about. It is about a man named Johnny, and he is on his deathbed, and there is a company, I believe it's called Sigmund, and they're able to kind of, like, create memories in people's minds so that they can achieve any wish that they desire that they weren't able to accomplish in their real life. And Johnny wants to go to the moon. He doesn't know why. He doesn't understand why he wants to go to the moon. So these two scientists, they go back through Johnny's memories, and they try and figure out what is the reason why he wants to go to the moon. And throughout this all, you learn about the relationship he had with his wife, River, who passed away a few years ago. And you get little kind of hints here and there about why he wants to go to the moon. You know it has something to do with River, most likely, but it's never really, like, understood why. And the scientists realize that River's memories are kind of getting in the way of Johnny's, like, desires, and the only way they can figure out to be able to grant his wish is they have to erase the memories of River. So there is a montage of, oh, another thing too is Johnny, big spoilers here, Johnny had a twin brother who died when he was a kid in a car accident. And it's just the whole thing about like River and his brother. So their idea is to replace River with his brother and make it seem like the brother survived and grew up with Johnny. So there's this montage of River being forgotten. She's being erased from his memories and being replaced with Johnny's brother. And there's this beautiful song that plays. It's called Everything's Alright. And I think that if you nail a song to an emotional moment, like you take an emotional moment and you add the right song, it just amplifies it 100-fold. And that's what this song does, is just this song playing over this montage of Johnny losing his memories of his wife. Here I am getting emotional, god damn it. If you listen to the song, you can tell how sad it is, but like when you put it in the context of the moment that's happening, it's so effective. And there is, like, To the Moon is one of those games where music is a huge part of, like, the emotion of, because there's this, you know, To the Moon, there is a song that goes throughout that Johnny plays on the piano. That's a whole other thing. I could talk about that itself, of the song. But yeah, listen to Everything's Alright. Listen to For River on the piano. Find it on YouTube. Just very beautiful songs, but, like, if you play the game, it's just, oh, man, I can't listen to those songs without getting a little emotional. So, yeah, that moment is just, and then you want to scream at the, at the game, what are you doing? You're erasing River, like, this isn't the way to do it, like, you as the players, like, there has to be another way. But it ends in a very bittersweet way, and I felt very satisfied with the ending. So, yeah, okay, I need to take a break. But yes, I definitely recommend you guys, if you haven't played To the Moon, it's very inexpensive. I definitely recommend picking it up. And, yeah. Okay, so, man, I talk about games like, Telltale's The Walking Dead, To the Moon being a hard game to choose only one moment from. Here's another one, Life is Strange. The first season of Life is Strange. I'm a huge fan. I'm wearing, as you can see, I'm wearing Chloe's shirt right now. Like, huge Life is Strange fan. And this was another one where it was difficult to pick just one moment. If I do a part 2, there's definitely going to be at least one other Life is Strange moment in here, but we have to go with the ending. So Life is Strange is about a girl named Max, and she discovers that she can time travel. She can set time back a certain amount. And she discovers this when she sees her old friend Chloe get killed in the bathroom at the very beginning of the game. She gets shot, and she discovers her powers to rewind. And basically, her whole like motivation for this whole game is to save Chloe. So Chloe dies multiple times throughout the game, and you have to go back and you have to try and fix things. And everything, eventually, things just change, and there's this big storm coming towards the town of Arcadia Bay where this takes place. Every time Max goes back and she saves Chloe, things get worse. Like, you could tell that changing the timeline is affecting the world in a negative way. And it culminates with this huge storm coming towards Arcadia Bay. It's gonna wipe out the whole town. And Chloe starts out as a very bitter and selfish person. And throughout her time with Max, they kind of reconnect. And she realizes at the end, her death is what caused the storm. She was meant to die, and Max changed the timeline, and it's causing the storm. And the storm is going to wipe out most of the town and kill thousands of people. So Chloe realizes that in order to save the town, Max is going to have to turn back time all the way to the very beginning and let Chloe die. And here's the thing, is you can choose to either let Chloe die and save the town, or you can choose to let Chloe live and basically doom thousands of people to death. Now, I wasn't the biggest fan of Chloe, I'll admit. Like, she's an okay character, but my pragmatic ass was like, okay, I'm not sacrificing thousands of people that we learn about through this game and we like for the most part. There's some people who are assholes, but there's also a lot of, characters that you bond with. You're like, I'm not going to let one person live and let thousands of people die. So, of course, I decided to go back and let Chloe die and save the town. And I did feel good about my decision. Like, I feel like, for me, that was the right choice. Other people will have opinions about that. But the moment at the end where it shows Max going back in time and Chloe getting shot and what happens afterwards. And just like To the Moon, this is a moment where the perfect song is playing. It's called Spanish Sahara, and it's playing throughout the end, watching the aftermath of, you know, Chloe's family dealing with the tragedy, Max dealing with Chloe's death. And the song is just so good. This is another game that they do music so good. They hit like those emotional peaks. And I listen to the soundtrack, like, still now, years after I finish the game. And Spanish Sahara, like, I do get emotional when I hear that song because it just makes me think of the end of Life is Strange. So, once again, music just making a powerful moment just that much more powerful. And I want to know in the comments, those of you who did play Life is Strange, Bay or Bay, who did you choose to save? But yeah, like, there's other moments for sure, and I can talk about them another time, but for me that was the peak moment, the fact that I'm like, holy shit, the game is actually letting me make this choice. And yeah, I felt like it was the right choice, but at the same time I felt horrible for what I'd done. Seeing Max deal with it, seeing Chloe's mother deal with it, just really, really upsetting. Okay, here's a game that I'm sure a lot of you were hoping that I would talk about, a game series, Danganronpa! Yay! Another game series that there was quite a few choices I could have made, but I'm going to talk about a moment specifically from V3, and there was a couple of moments I could have chosen from V3. And I could put this under also most shocking moments in games as well. Maybe if I do like a most shocking moments in games, I will repeat it. This will be on here. So with Danganronpa, your characters in the first two games were both male, and you know, for the most part, they were a little bit hesitant. They were hesitant, like main characters and protagonists. With V3, we get a female protagonist named Kaede, and she is kind of the opposite. She takes charge right away. She is confident. She is, you know, wants to protect everybody. She's positive. She's assertive, maybe a little bit bossy. But I just attached myself to her immediately. Maybe because she was a female protagonist, or just maybe because of her attitude, but I just liked her immediately. And the way that Danganronpa works is it's a game where a bunch of people are trapped in a certain area, and they have to kill each other off, and they have to try and escape the you know, the place that they are in if they are able to not be suspected by the other students. So they're trapped in a school, a murder happens pretty quickly, and we have the trial go through, and throughout it all, we learn, shockingly, that Kaede is actually the one who is the murderer. And we know that the murderer, the blackened, that's what they're called, the blackened people who commit the murder, is if they are discovered, they are executed. So we are playing as the character who we learn is the actual murderer, and she's working with someone that she becomes friends with pretty quickly, Shuichi, who's a detective. So it's the two of them, they're buddy-buddy, they're trying to like solve the mystery. And the whole time that Shuichi is with Kaede, he doesn't realize that she's the murderer right up until the very end, and he has to make the decision to tell everybody that Kaede is the blackened. And we know what that means. We know that that means she's going to die. So we just got this character. We just took control of this character. The game has just started, and we're gonna lose her. And that was really shocking to me because that was like such a rug pull moment. The main character is supposed to make it till the end, right? Like that's what main characters do. And she got taken away from us very quickly. And the execution itself is very sad. Her moments with Shuichi where she tells him that she regrets what she did. She was just trying to stop the game. She was trying to stop the mastermind, and an innocent person got killed as a result. And she knows what this means, but she accepts responsibility for it, and she just tells everybody, hey, fight in my stead. Just don't suspect each other. Try and stay friends throughout all this. And she tries to stay positive, but you know that she's upset that this is going to happen. The really tragic moment for me was afterwards, just kind of Shuichi, like after Kaede's gone, he's just wandering around the school, just kind of like at a loss of what to do. And he walks into her room with her piano, and an image of her, a hallucination of her, is playing the piano and talking to Shuichi and just telling him, like, you're strong, you need to do this without me. And they just have this very emotional moment together, and he promises that he is going to, find the mastermind in her honor and save everybody. And it's just like so well done, so shocking, and I just miss her so much. I wish she could have stuck around longer, but it is what it is. Definitely one of the most shocking and emotional moments, in my opinion, in the Danganronpa series. Alright guys, so I think that's going to wrap it up for my first episode of Rose Rambles. I hope you enjoyed this new series. And of course, I want to know, what were your most emotional moments in gaming? Leave them down below. Who knows, maybe I will read it and I will unlock a repressed moments of from a game that I can't even remember because I just didn't want to think about it. Like I said, there's easily enough for me to do a second part to this because there's a lot of moments that I didn't talk about. So if you would like to see that, give the video a thumbs up, let me know you enjoyed it. And if you guys have any suggestions for any other topics that you would like me to do a Rose Rambles video on, please leave those down below as well. I would love to hear your ideas. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to catch you next time. Until then, bye.
Special shoutouts to my top tier patrons: Nana, Sparky, Dumbass Loser, Derek Nickel, Harry Gazif, Asborn Kennedy, and Icognito.